Recording in progress. Another episode of the Square and Compass podcast. This time, I am probably the furthest I think I've ever traveled, at least virtually, for the podcast. I'm in Bulgaria with the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Bulgaria, Most Worshipful Brother Plamen Mateev. Thank you so much for being here.
Past Grand Master.
Past Grand Master, excuse me. That's right. Past Grand Master Plamen Mateev.
Yeah.
When were you Grand Master? Because you were Grand Master. I believe I met you through, and I can't think of his name now. Through the International Masonic Town Halls.
Yes. We meet each other. Yeah, we meet each other several times, seems to me. Several times.
When the International Masonic Town Halls were going on, at that point in time, you were the Grand Master, correct?
Yes. International. I was Grand Master at that time.
And, what was it like? Because everybody, the International Masonic Town Halls really started as a response to COVID and to so much of Freemasonry being in-person meetings being suspended, not being able to meet in person. What was it like in Bulgaria during, for Freemasonry during the COVID pandemic? What type of things did the Grand Lodge do during that time?
Well, my answer will be divided in two parts. First part is official one. Official one is a part which is following all traditional ways of the biggest number of Grand Lodges all over the world. There was suspending of all activities, I mean physical activities, and stop normal work according to Constitution. They have no one Constitution, seems to me, which I know, in which such a situation was described, and there exist some procedures or some rituals, what we should do in case of this, in case of some requirements based on pandemic. Nevertheless, that there was several pandemics before this in which Freemasonry was existed at that time. But there was no historical data what will be proposed, like experience, like background to do in this period. Probably first reaction was of the Grand Secretary, the Great Secretary of the Grand Secretary of the United Grand Lodge of England, who proposed, he ordered actually to take whatever we want to do without some physical contact based on different rituals. It means we can meet virtually, we can discuss virtually, we can do what we want to do without choreography. Since choreography, more or less, in our rituals, needs some physical contact. Nevertheless, that according to different rituals, we normally use gloves, or we are dressed like in pandemic requirements. This is official one, and this official statement was propagated very well everywhere over the world, and even now seems to me, or maybe I don't know, but maybe in Canada still has some Grand Lodges which are closed for normal job, normal process. But we look on the we look on our constitution and say, fine, if you follow medical requirements, we have something like serious conflict, because from one side in our constitution there was written that we need to follow and we need to support any government action to be in law. But on the same constitution is written that if we have 1 year without any meeting or 2 years without meetings, we looks like we closed any lodge. It means we have something like a conflict in the constitution, trying to follow both requirements. In a normal way, different lodges choose different solutions. Some of lodges never closed, but some of lodges closed absolutely. We choose a middle way, or let's say typical Masonic approach. We need something like a balance to prepare something like a hybrid rituals. Hybrid rituals means we are using the same ritual like before, following exactly requirements of the government and medical authorities. 12 people, no more in one room, depending on the size of the room, with masks, with gloves, with different, without physical contacts, things like this. And it means if we can assemble this ritual and proceed, but what about choreography, which was fixed by Grand Secretary of the United Grand Lodge of England, like a prerequisite. So we need to take decision how to proceed. And in the very sensitive choreography situations, we are, during the ritual, we are trying to explain this by words or to show on the base of different pictures on the screens, which means hybrid ritual, which we are trying to establish, need some rework job on the guides, also need some infrastructure installed in the temple. At the beginning, there was very simple attempts with GSMs or things like this, but finally we decide that we need a serious approach, and there must be installed serious infrastructure. Can I talk about serious infrastructure? It doesn't matter a huge amount of money. It just needs for people who understand what we are doing, and what is our target. Our target is fixed number of brothers, enough to open regular lodge, which means 7 in our case. But as per our last discussion, 7 is most popular number of brother masters existing to open lodge, but not more than number of brothers which could be exist in a closed room according to the government or medical requirements. In our case, based on the square meters of the temple, it was not more than 12 or 15 people. So enough to open lodge, enough to have a normal process. And if they are following reworked guides, we can run a normal job. Question: what about the rest of brothers? Because one lodge is normally 20, 30, 50, even more brothers. They want to participate. Based on infrastructure installed in the temple, all these brothers using their personal computers or even depends on the complexity of their GSMs. They can participate. They can speak. They can see what is happened in the temple. They can vote. And participation is fixed. And everybody can see everybody.
That
People,
is,
people
really, really cool. Because we've been talking about something similar. Some brothers in my lodge have discussed trying to do something similar. The combination of allowing for virtual attendance during a meeting. That would also help with things like, if a brother's moved away and can't physically attend a meeting because he lives out of town, out of province, he can still join through his computer. Was that popular? Were a lot of people jumping online and taking part virtually?
Yeah, the same number. If before we have 2/3 participant of the lodge, for example, if we have 40 people, between 25 and 35 participants normally, it's a normal number of participation. Now, by using hybrid ritual, we have the same number of brothers. It means we reach balance. But taking into account discussion, a key to discussion, our discussion regarding logo, bring lodge to brothers. Bring lodge to brothers. It means some brothers are far away, for example, on business trip or whatever. Or they are living on the places in which the distance is very long, or there exist some disasters, weather disasters or whatever. They can participate by using this hybrid ritual also. It's not answer of paying of paying taxes. Could be because it's not problem to arrange immediately special modules regarding payment by using different communication protocols to pay even through internet. But more or less, we think that at least one time per year, these brothers should be better to meet each other just physically.
Now,
to see each other.
What has it been like for the Grand Lodge of Bulgaria over the past few months? Knock on wood, we seem to be coming to the end of the pandemic. Fingers crossed. Most jurisdictions have, to my knowledge, resumed, in-person meetings and ritual work. We have in Ontario resumed in-person meetings with ritual. In Bulgaria, what's it been like as the pandemic, again, knock on wood, as the pandemic seems to be receding, and restrictions seem to be lifting?
At the moment, we have something like a pause. We didn't believe that the pandemic was killed totally. Probably there should be some variants or whatever, but this situation could be repeat again. Even more, let's say with a big percentage, we believe that it could be happened again. Now we have some period of free time to prepare some changes in constitutions, to prepare some acceptance of special guiders, especially for situation like a pandemic. It's a serious, huge organizational work for grandmasters and for masters of lodge. If they prefer to keep a real life communication with their members, if they don't prefer, they can continue the official lines, and at the end of their period 1 or 2 years, depending on the constitution, they can say, okay, I was a Grand Master, or I was a Master of the Lodge, without doing nothing. It's a question of how or we choose to, or we elected to follow our activities like a lodge or like a Grand Lodge. Depends what we want. It's a care of any member of the Grand Lodge, of any member of the lodge. We need to answer to this question for ourselves. What we prefer to do, to stay, to do nothing, and to say, we were Mason in these 2 years, without or with break all constitution requirements, but saying we are following what government requests for us. So that's why we have Freemasons, to find the balance between requirements which are controversial each to other. We are good men and we become better if we find the balance between these things, because this is the world.
Balance is very important. If more people could find it in just day-to-day life, I think things would be better off, as our ritual discusses. Tell me a little bit, because I know very little, and you were kind enough to join my lodge's virtual meeting and talk a little bit about it. The history of Bulgarian Freemasonry. You're talking about how it's relatively recent, 1997. Before then, it was outlawed. It was underground. It was around in, I think you said, the 1930s. It popped up. Tell me a little bit about the history of Bulgarian Freemasonry.
It's the history of Freemasonry in Bulgaria is following historical changes which have happened to the society, happened to the people in Bulgaria, happened on this territory of Bulgaria. First attempts to Freemasonry was very early, 180th century, somewhere there, and there was communication between Grand Lodge of Portuguese, Grand Lodge of Italy, Grand Lodge of France at that time, and different men which very, how to say, revolutionary created. They touch Freemasonry, and some of these people, which are Bulgarian ones, when we were under Turkish shock, they become members of different Grand Lodges. One of our biggest revolutionary, Georgi Savrakovsky, our secretary here, is one of from this family, member of this family. He became a member in Italy, and different type of these members at the end established something like a lodge. But this lodge seems to me, first one was in Russia, belongs to different Grand Lodge outside of the country. At that time, our country was under Turkish shock, so it was very interesting histories that when two brothers, two Masons, meet each other. Nevertheless, one is that they're against each other, just like in the Civil War in United States. You have a special monument, seems to me, in one of the place of your battle, and one of from south help to the general of the north, and or just vice versa. But they belong to. But both of them are Freemasons.
In Gettysburg, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic monument. I mean, could be very useful for us if now we are using this monument which is existing on this field like a flag, not only for Freemasonry, must be flag for all, the whole world. Doesn't matter who support whom. We are Freemasonry. We are people believing in the liberty, in the democracy, in the brotherhood. It's a very important, and it seems to me it's a very sensitive for everybody. I don't believe in let's say something which are not real, not in some procedures which are into the Freemasonry, which are not helping us. For example, the procedure of recognizing. What means recognizing? If you are regular, what means situation in which everybody say you are regular, but you're not recognized? It's something like wooden iron. What means this? You are regular and you are not recognized. Recognition properly, like we reached to this definition in Sapere Audi with brother David Ciccinadze. Recognition, according to the Bob from Scotland, means it's a political instrument. It's a political tool. It's a not Freemason tool. It's a political tool helping Freemasonry to arrange some relation. That's all. But at the moment, we don't need such a tools. We need picture like this monument in the field. I forgot the name of the field. It's one of the big battles. It's a national place for visiting.
It's Gettysburg.
Absolutely, Gettysburg. Yes, it's never forgotten for me. I was much more pressed by this than national temple George Washington in Alexandria.
No, it's a beautiful monument. I've never actually seen it in person, but I've read up a fair bit on it. It's one of those great examples of brotherly love passing through or going through battle lines, right? Which there was a lot of examples of that in Masonic history. War of 18, especially North America, War of 1812, American Civil War, and what you're saying as well, right? It's a great monument and a great story.
It's not only, it's a flag for the future. It's a flag for the future. We always need to remember. We must remember this flag and this monument, because whatever in the future, sooner or later, we shall reach to the same monument.
I agree completely. When we speak of the future, as about the past, what do you see as the future of Freemasonry in Bulgaria? Is the craft growing? What type of things are you looking forward to for Freemasonry in the coming years?
Well, it's not easy to give some ideas what should be happen. Not because it's not possible, but because we have a very short history behind us, 25, 27 years. It means we can, based on analyzing of situation of these 25 years. The first people becoming Freemasons is growing. I mean, really is growing. Which means there exists something which is very acceptable for this society, for Bulgarian people. Secondly, as normal for the human beings, a lot of ideas of Freemasonry could be realized by different ways. Nevertheless, that ideas, nevertheless, that basic, nevertheless, the target is the same. The method of realizing could be different. So this differentiation between the methods must be synchronized. And the general task for me is how to synchronize these different methods or different views of realizing Freemasonry targets. For this period, probably even for the longest period, we shall have several Grand Lodges, including mixed Grand Lodges like men and women, as happened, Grand Lodges following Memphis, Mizraim, Grand Lodges following Emulation, Grand Lodges following Schroeder, Grand Lodges following different orders. Even now in the England, you have 17 different orders. You can imagine. And according to the one of the lecture in superiority, we have 37 forgotten. They exist for some period of time, and after that they stop to existing. It's official. So our idea in Bulgaria is how to synchronize this and try to fix as much as possible wrong ways and showing from the base, from the history of different Grand Lodges, what means to follow such a wrong ways. It's not secret. I was upset at the beginning, and I understand that in United States we have at least in any state 2 lodges, one for the black people, one for the white people. I mean,
well, they have.
So now, yeah, I know there exists a big. It's a big process to be in amenity, both lodges, and to exchange their members.
Well, yeah, okay. There's the Grand Lodge of Prince Hall and
Prince Hall and the normal Grand Lodges, but now only 4 or 5 states in the United States are not connected. Both lodges are not, let's say, recognized each other.
Yeah, mutual recognition.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5. I don't know. Generally, it's on the south, which is historically it's okay. Since in the south we have a little bit special relations on the race, but it means it was wrong. Even now, Freemasonry is a so powerful movement in United States. Can you imagine how much powerful should be Freemasonry if both lines work together, synchronizing their target? This is one of the way we are not, we must don't follow. We must look for the things which are making us united, because united means successful. We are not politicians. We are looking for a society, which, of course, is a little bit dangerous for a different type of religions, different type of movements, which pretend to be X order. But next example, which I mentioned yesterday or before yesterday, if at the moment we are trying to establish as much as possible temples on the very exciting places, like old houses, and I'm talking about old houses, I'm talking about houses existing 100, 150 years before. We're renovation these old buildings and include into them temple. Or we are building absolutely new buildings, like our temple in the coastal way, which is 1 to 3 in scaling 1 to 3, exactly repeating Solomon Temple. I shall send to you some string in YouTube. We can have some imagination about this.
I would love to see that.
So, but on the same time, we are fixing situation in which different people, according to me, it's strange people. It's easiest word I can use. Strange people are trying to burn these temples. The last two temples burned was in British Columbia.
Yeah. And they tried to do the same thing in Ireland.
Same things in England, same things there was in the United States. They are vandalizing even monuments of the Albert Pike in Washington, or Jefferson in Pennsylvania, seems to me, in front of their temple. Why? It means we miss something. We miss something. If these people reach to this type of thinking, that they should vandalize these monuments, I'm sure no one of them was read even one string from the all sentences of Albert Pike.
Well, in the case of the damage, the vandalism in British Columbia and Ireland, to my knowledge, a lot of that was fueled by conspiracy thinking around Freemasons and vaccines and New World Order. It was kind of typical anti-Masonic conspiracy theories type of thing, to my knowledge, which is unfortunate in of itself, right? That people would tie in Freemasonry to kind of conspiracies surrounding vaccines or vaccinations or world governments. That does seem to be making a bit of a comeback, unfortunately. Some of these conspiracy theories that I thought we had relegated to the dustbin of history seem to be coming back a little bit over the past few years, especially with the pandemic. It seems to have increased all of these conspiracy type of theories.
Actually, Brother Adamson, such a type of connectivity between existing bad things happen to the people with the Freemasonry exists, according to my understanding, from 6,000 years. I mean, in any case, the easiest way to say that Freemasons are guilty, it's the easiest way. All the time. Very understandable. Freemasons are not willing to ask to become leaders or to govern in the politics or in the government. They are always follower. And this is easiest way to attack them. But in Bulgarian history, since you asked me, the government who stand hard against all European powerist country after York celebration, and taking care for united the part of different government, part of different Bulgarian territories, because of decision of these powerful West European countries, was government in Bulgaria with 9 ministries, Freemasons from 13. You can imagine 13 members of the Council of the Ministers, 9 of them were Freemasons. And they press at that time the king of Bulgarian to say, we are united with the south part or the west part or things like this. And everybody following them. First time in our history can we reach absolutely success. Why we should be quiet about this? It's an example how things is going on. Even now, several years ago, there was one of the, this guy at the moment is a member of European Parliament, which doesn't increase my believing in this unit. But in front of everybody, he fixed that Freemasons drunk people in white robes and asked to make a special discrimination against Freemason if they become or want to become member in a juridical system. Where there was a big battle. Even now, these texts are existing. These are all existing in our law, and there was special statement of the Commission against discrimination in Bulgaria, which is belonging to the National Assembly of Bulgaria, but they are monitor of the special department in the European Union Parliament. And I can send this statement to you also to show that it is happened normally. It's happened in Italy, it's happened in England. So we need to give some response to things like this. Not to
I would
follow.
love to see that statement. And it is unfortunate.
I'll send you for sure.
Thank you so much. And to me, the best way to combat statements like that and combat things like that is, well, it's through things like this, but it's just through Freemasons being open and talking about the craft and what it means to us. How do you think Freemasons, what do you think is the best approach to take to combating those type of statements and those type of conspiratorial type statements or discrimination against or about Freemasonry?
For type of people which are looking for their careers, like a politics, as I mentioned, Freemasonry is the easiest way to show some activities. Question is how we respond to this. One of our preferable type of reaction is to organize open platforms for discussion. Open platforms for discussion. It's not to be happened. It's forbidden to be happened in the normal lodge job. But after that, we have a place in which we can discuss it. In this place, probably, nevertheless, that there should be not very successful everywhere for everything, but there should be fixed some small kernel of the truth or a future truth if you are looking for it. Freemasonry need to look for it. Otherwise, we are useless. We need to find a way. We need to find a balance. We need to show at least how to find a way and how to reach to the balance. Since the doing actions is not our job. Our job is to find. Our job is to show to the politicians, of course.
Now, if you look at the way you are dressed versus the way I am dressed, you're definitely showing me up in terms of how you're dressed, but that's because you had a very special event today. Let us know where you are and what you were up to on this date.
Well, in this special day, we are closing a normal work in the Grand Lodge. There exists some craft lodge which continue for a couple of weeks after that because of, say, based on their plans. But this is normally job which is depend on like a continuation, depends on the process in which they're participating. But normally in this day, the old masters, but no, or let's say the existing masters of the craft lodge, giving the hammer to the new masters. The same with the grandmaster. So it's a very interesting procedure. Bless you. So it's a very special procedure, and in different craft lodges we have a different activities. In our particular case, we are the seaside. We have a special place in which we prefer to meet and to close these activities for this year. And for example, we shall continue with some activities tomorrow to give some notebooks to one of the school in this region, which name is exactly the name of our name of our craft lodge, because this name belonged to one of the big Freemasons in the Bulgarian history. So we have a school calling Professor Osen Zlatarov. Our lodge is calling Professor Osen Zlatarov. We are supporting the school Professor Osen Zlatarov in this region. So it's a special type of activities. Of course, there should be additional activities or initiatives based on the 1 hour hour of the code, which was born in the United States with Bill Gates and Obama. Any schoolboy or schoolgirl will be trained free of charge for 1 hour from our lectures. What means computer, what means programming, what means things like this. Nevertheless, of the ages and at the moment, we are supplying them with the units. Next step should be to make this hour of code. Just a hour of code. It's a special initiative depending on the planning of the school authorities. So it's a type of activities which I mentioned that could be continued after this day. But generally, today we close all activities for 2 months. We are starting on September again.
And how did the closing ceremony go? You mentioned you had a lot of brothers there in attendance with you. Is it something that people look forward to, like both closing for the year and then reopening in September? Is it a chance to, like, is it a well-attended event? Do Masons in Bulgaria look forward to it? Just what was it like today, especially the event?
It's a very open. I think that the closet, the ceremony of the closet, we're saying Tafel Lodge. Tafel Lodge comes from the German ritual which we are using. Tafel means table lodge. In this table lodge, it's a we eating dinner or lunch, depend on the time. After each eating, we it's a normal job on the first stage, on the first enterprise ritual. We finish with including several things which are very popular and very often happened in for example, in different than Schroeder rituals. Emulation, for example, has a 9 o'clock toast, or toast for absence, or for visitors, things like this. So in this event, which we are organizing, it's an open one. Everybody can guest to some other. The question is that all be around the table and having several toasts for a country, for a Grand Lodge, for the sisters, and at the end for the absent brothers. And after toast of the absent brothers, everybody can share something which he thinks is important for him, and ask for some discussions or comments or advices. Or we can discuss even open cases in which we don't know what to do still. So this is such type of event which we have today. And after the discussion, all proposals, all comments were collected by secretary of the lodge, and they become a first agenda for opening New Year on September.
And are you excited for, I mean, you just finished the closing ceremony, but are you looking forward already to September and the opening? And is that also a well-attended event? What's that like?
Sorry?
Are you, even though it's still, you just finished the closing ceremony, are you looking forward to September and the opening? And is that often well-attended? What's the September ceremony like?
The first September ceremony become not from the beginning of the September. And everybody will be prepared for this ceremony. And everybody are expecting to have some answers of all open questions, because they have 2 months to think about. It's not like a holidays in which you are not thinking about anything. It's a holidays to have a time to think about open questions, about problems which discuss on the closing ceremony. This is it's normal for us.
And I'm just curious, because I know so little about Bulgaria. How large is Bulgaria, and how easy is it for Masons in Bulgaria to travel and visit different lodges? Is there a large distance between lodges and temples? Is there a lot of visitation that takes place? And even between Bulgaria and, say, neighboring countries, is there a lot of visitation? Are Masons able to travel and visit in another country, or even within Bulgaria?
Well, Bulgaria is a middle European country according to the European standards. Middle means 110,000 square meters. And the population is between 5 and 6 millions. If you have a car, you can cross the country between the longest, between the southeast and southwest, you can cross about 8-9 hours. So it's not too far. So you can visit everybody, even during one day. Visit, participating and returning back. Normally, it's a 2 days. 1 day for visiting. During the evening, you have a ritual, and the next day you are returning back. It means from the lunchtime to the lunchtime next day, you can finish with all the obligations, Masonic obligations. So,
Oh, yeah, that reminds me of
but you're welcome. You're welcome. If you want, I can send you immediately invitation. You're welcome. Just give me period. Okay, it's open. It's an open invitation, depending on you. But between this period, between the end of June and beginning of September, you'll visit us by seeing everything. And if you want, we can establish a special ritual for you. It's up to you.
I mean, I would love to visit a lodge in Bulgaria. I've visited many lodges in Canada, many in the United States, and one in England. I've never had the chance to visit a lodge or a Masonic temple, or actually, and in Mexico as well. But I've never had the chance to visit a lodge or a temple outside of those areas. And I would love to visit. I'd love to visit Bulgaria in general, and to see a lodge there and to see a temple would be particularly a particularly great thing. It's on a list of places I'd love to visit for sure. I mean, I'm told Bulgaria, I'm told that area, right, you taught, is just a really beautiful country, and really wonderful people. I'd love to get the chance. It's in like a mountain region, right? It's really mountainous.
From south, we are neighbor of the Greece and Turkey. On south. On north, we are neighbor to Romania. On the east, it's a full border with seaside, Black Sea. To the west, it's Serbian and Northern Macedonia. By the way, in the Northern Macedonia, it's a very close. We work very close with them. They have a Grand Lodge, which was established by our Grand Lodge. So when you come to Bulgaria, you'll have chance to see a Grand Lodge in North Macedonia also. It's not problem.
Where do you, if anybody is visiting, where do people tend to fly in to? Is there like one like major airport that people fly into in Bulgaria, or is there a couple different ones? What's the typical way people visit Bulgaria?
Flying also is possible.
What's the
most popular way, of course, but you
most popular like airport
organize or we can try to organize something like a joint trip for you. I mean, visiting us, after that visiting for example, Georgia. I mean, Georgia here, not Georgia like a state in in the United States. Georgia here, or Turkey, or Northern Macedonia. I mean, could be complex, or could be assembling joint visit for several locations, and several neighbor locations, Romania also.
That would be
no problem to organize this. Serbia, no problem.
That would be wonderful.
So you can chance to visit Bulgaria and immediately to be a visitor in the all Balkan Peninsula. It's a not small part of Europe.
And by the way, speaking of visiting, if you ever get the chance to visit Windsor, Ontario, or Ontario in general, Canada, I'd love to show you around the Windsor Masonic Temple and take you to Detroit and a few other places, because we got some pretty cool Masonic stuff here as well. So invitation goes both ways. We'd love to have you here.
So I shall send tomorrow official invitation. Invited you, and I shall copy existing Grandmaster, and you'll be guest in our lodge. we shall do this on the base of craft lodge. Since you are master of the craft lodge, I'm past master of this of our craft lodge, so I shall invite you like a lodge of lodge, and but of course we shall inform a grand lodges also, no problem.
What how important is it, do you think, for Masons, wherever they are, to take the time to visit and travel and see other Masons and other lodges? Either, it could even be within their own jurisdiction or internationally, getting a chance to visit with other Masons from other countries, other locations.
At the moment, before 2 years, there was a very, 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 very useful initiative, so-called Amenity. It is a simple organization which are producing information like in one site, in probably cloud site located, in which in each country you can find grand lodges on this territory. In each country, also name of the participant, also their contacts. So it's very easy to go to any country and clicking on the internet to find all this information. If you don't know this, I shall send you link to see in different countries how many grand lodges or Freemasons exist. And visiting between grand lodges, I don't find. I'm in the middle. I'm not following Thomas Jackson. Sorry. That for his saying that the Grand Lodge is nothing. It's not a working body, and the only working part and the body in the Grand Lodges are craft lodges, because everything is producing in them. Grand Lodge is only administrative unit. They are not a production unit. But this information is existing. And such a meetings, how to say, it's not necessary. It's more strong than necessary. They are absolutely needed. Freemasons need to be known in different countries, each other. In most cases, they can support activities in the government or society in a very critical situation.
I agree completely. I think, Freemasonry can be a form of support for people, for societies, for other countries. And visitation is just one example of that support.
Yeah, because, seeing is believing. It's very, okay, I'm seeing at you, I'm looking at you, but can you visit our lodge? I shall see you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree. It's one thing to read about it. It's another thing to know about it, but to see it, to be there, to see it in person, that's a really special thing whenever you're visiting another lodge or a Grand Lodge or the building or whatever it might be. So taking the time to visit is so important. It's what I always suggest to new Masons, when you get the chance to visit, you should take it up, because it's going to improve your Masonic journey quite a bit. Well, I know you've had a busy day so far. I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. I know it's a lot later over there than it is here in Canada. So yeah, I know you said there's still some things happening Masonically, even though you had the closing ceremony, and you'll be reopening in September. Any plans over the summer, Masonically or otherwise? Anything you're looking forward to?
Well, summer is for us is something like preparation period for September. We know that we close our activities for a very short period of time, and they have no time to lose this time. we need to use this time for preparation of activities, of the future activities. One, especially for our lodge, I know that we have several tasks which were a little bit delayed because of pandemic. We want to open several computer rooms in Albania, which is one of the country in Balkan Peninsula. If you don't know, they're in the Adriatic Sea against Italy, but from the side of Balkan Peninsula. And there exists an ethnic group of Bulgarians. And we have some permission from their government to open computer classrooms with the Bulgarian keyboards, with the Bulgarian literature, with translation of lessons on the Bulgarian for these several villages which are existing in Albania. They are talking on Bulgarians, and they prefer to learn on Bulgarians. So that's why we shall open these computer classrooms, and this is a very, very interesting job for us. And it should be done from our craft lodge together with the craft lodge in Albania, under negotiation of Bulgarian council and some bureaucrats in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Albania. So this is our job, and now to think about how to organize this. It means what we are doing now in Bulgaria looks like a background, look like experiment, and look like a know-how which we shall have in opening this in foreign country.
That's awesome. Keep me informed on that, because it's great to see initiatives, whatever they are, in charitable initiatives, education initiatives, providing these computers. It's a great example of what Freemasonry can do to help our community
from different countries, together from the different countries.
Absolutely, and that adds another layer to it, right? It's two countries, Freemasons, two countries working together though to help with computer literacy, and that is that's a very cool initiative. When is that taking place? When are the computers being delivered?
Of course, autumn, since now it's closing. Yeah. But autumn, we shall do this. I shall keep you informed. Even I can invite you for this event especially, because it's not very rare to see such a common event between two craft lodges from different orients, which it's not very popular.
It's very cool though, and hopefully becomes more popular. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me all the way from Bulgaria, and for joining Harmony Lodge at our last meeting. It was much appreciated.
We shall invite you immediately. It should be second target for us to invite you on one ceremony, one real job by using our hybrid ritual. Not because of pandemic, but because you are far away and you want to take part in our job.
Absolutely. I look forward to the invitation 100%. Thank you so much, most worshipful sir, and I appreciate your time.
You're welcome anytime. Best wishes for all brothers.
Absolutely.